along with Scraptember with the Scrappy Sisters and Laura Alberts and everybody else that is playing along. There will be a playlist listed below. Today's prompt is wood. I have lots of florals, and I also using the sketch by Scrap-A-Sketch, Lisa Sikorsky. That is always linked below. It is sketch number 41. And you'll notice it's got some florals there, so I think I might be using these. There are some really dark ones from they come from the dollar store, and I might be painting these, and it will rub off dark on your fingers if you play with those. So anyway, that's something. And then I'm also participating in Coast to Coast collaboration, and there's a bunch of prompts with that. So the first one is family. So I have my picture of my daughters. There is a quote that can also be a saying, and I went to my Cricut and I'm going to make the title, "Apparently We Are Trouble When We're Together. Who Knew?" which works perfectly for this photo. There's also a prompt of pocket, which it also says pocket card. This is from Ellie Studio. It says February. It's in the right color. I'm going to use that. And then the technique I'm going to use is tearing, because it goes along with that Scrap-A-Sketch. It goes along with that sketch. So super exciting. I can't wait to get started. Let's get scrapping. So the first thing I have to do is tear those lovely papers. I had them kind of lined up so I knew where I wanted them, but it's getting the shape that's kind of in the sketch where it's kind of bowed like that, and getting 3 of them to follow that. So not terribly difficult, just kind of interesting and using a little bit of thought power. And once you get the first one done, I'm going to use that black paper in the back with the flowers, the pattern paper, to be my background. And you know, it's easier to follow than what you did the first time. And the last one is a full paper, and I'm going to trim it down before, I am going to glue these down just to, you know, get things where I want them, get things lined up, which I feel will make it easier to then kind of deal with the last piece of paper that is a full sheet. These were just pieces that I used, these 2, and then I could just trim them down as I needed to. This full sheet, I do trim down, and to do it again, I might leave it a little bit longer. It all turns out in the end, and I don't think you're going to see any difference, but it just seemed like it was a little short when I first trimmed it. And you know, I keep lining it up to the end, but it's got to go all the way over that multicolored paper. It has to overlap that really well. So here's my short, stubby little piece of paper. And again, it totally works. In the sketch, it looks like it's a much bigger piece of paper, but I think by the time I get photos, and you know, my title is really big, so I guess everything happens for a reason. So again, trimming this down to kind of follow the sketch, although because this one is shorter, I don't get that big bow in it, and that's okay too. And then I'm going to glue this piece down, and then I'll work on the middle strips. And the middle strips did come from full pieces of paper as well, because I had used all my scraps from this collection. So I look at my options, and I like the stripe, and I like the palms, and I like that pink, and I cut the stripes, and I cut the pink, and then I decide I'm going to use, just that white, because it's just a little bit. So I use a white that I punched, and I'm going to use the I guess they're palms, right? Palm trees. I'm going to use that for my photo. And I cut the paper 4x6, so I cut my picture down, which worked fine too. So here are those wood flowers, and I end up using all the lighter colored ones. And I thought about leaving them wood colored. I didn't want to make them white. And so I went into my mixed media, and I didn't have colors that I wanted except for this, what is it called? It is stencil butter. So I used 3 different colors. I've got them right here: fern, yellow ochre, and turquoise. And I did dilute them just a little bit with water. The yellow ones needed to be, I diluted them too much at first, so I kind of went over them again. Well, at least on the first one you can see. And those were the colors that really, I thought, matched the papers. And I'm doing a lot of dabbing to get that color on there. And I used the same brush in between all. I just cleaned it really well in between. This was a fun way just to give it a little bit of color, and kind of solid, more of a vibrant, not vibrant because it's not super bright, that especially the yellow, but with watercolor it would have been lightened and muted. So here's the turquoise. This one I have used a lot before on my pages. I shouldn't say a lot, but probably the color I've used most as far as the stencil butter. And I really like the way it looks on these flowers. So I went some yellow and some the turquoise, and I'm gonna spread those out as I put them on around the picture. I use them a little bit differently than that you see very minimal in the sketch, but I just wanted to put all these pops of color on either side of the photo. And I'm very happy how it turned out. And in a minute I will show you how the title turned out. So I'm gonna let these dry just a little bit. I do glue them on wet, but I'm gonna get my strips down, back the photo, and then figure out where I want that title and where I want the journaling box. So I just put the diagonal stripe strip, I put it right in the middle. I'm going to get some ATG down, and then, I got to trim up the where I used my punch, need to be a little bit shorter. So I will just glue that down in the middle, kind of just eyeballing it up, and then lay the pink down on top of it. I do use liquid glue when things are skinnier like that. I use liquid glue. And, I was a little nervous about using those 2 pinks right next to each other, but the print size are so different, I'm okay with it. So there goes the white paper. And then, again, at first I thought I was going to put my title on the bottom, and it moved around. It just really worked out better on the top. But one trick to the Cricut, and I'm sure this works with other cutting machines too, I don't do a lot of cutting out individual letters because it's kind of a pain and it takes a lot of time to glue all those letters down. So with this one, I sliced it with the Cricut, which allowed it to go through this white paper, and then I put it on top of black paper to let the letters show through, if that makes sense. And then I did go in and glued all the middles of the letters, so the middle of the A, the middle of the P's, etc. And it was much easier than gluing each letter down. It saved me a lot of time. Very happy with how that turned out. Cute title. Here is where I spread out the flowers around. And, I wanted a combination of 3 on each side. I had 7 flowers, so one I layered up on the top of another. And the journaling box, I know I don't need a lot of room there because it was a long trip and we have lots to say on different pages. So I just tuck that in there. And I'm going to use that liquid glue again to get those wood pieces down. They won't be stuck there really good right at the moment, but they'll stick well once it dries. I do end up using adhesive foam on a couple of the backs of a couple of them because I'm layering. So I think I used, well, let's see. And the one green leaf stayed there because it was still wet. It was still really wet. The other one's not so bad. But yeah, I'm just going to throw some liquid glue on there, get those arranged, and then maybe it's only on the left side that I use the foam adhesive tape, but I think it might be on that yellow one on the right bottom. And I do tuck the leaf a little bit underneath that flower. Let's see where I get the Yeah, I think that was just glue. So here I'm going to put this with liquid glue, and then on the back of this yellow one is foam so that it sits up over on the top of that one. And then that one gets some liquid glue, and this one gets liquid glue, and then I decide to put the adhesive on it, which was a little bit tricky because once the glue is on, the adhesive sticky doesn't want to stick to it. But it did work good as far as getting some dimension over the other flower that it sits over the top of. So, all right, make sure that you're checking out everybody below on the Scraptember playlist as well as the Coast to Coast playlist. I want to thank you so much for sticking with me till the end here. Thank you to all my subscribers. You guys are the best. Thank you for everybody that comments. And then I will see you again soon for another video.